What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the High Tempo Sports Podcast. This is episode 220, and it's another late night cast. It's been a minute since we've had one of these, but it is Wednesday night right now, April 24th. You know what that means. Tomorrow is the NFL draft, so we had to bring on the Pittsburgh Steelers analyst himself, Willy. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me back, man.
It's an honor to have you on here. I got to update the people because it's been some time since not only you've been on, but it's been some time since something happened on this podcast where you and I, as along with Eason and Seth, made our predictions for the NFL season, which we probably should react to those at some point because
we should definitely.
I don't really remember necessarily if anyone was right or wrong about certain things.
But in definitely wrong on a few. I think I had Kenny Pickett win an MVP.
Yeah, that's you get George Pickens Offensive Player of the Year too. But in that, speaking of bad Steelers predictions, in that episode, me and Willie made a friendly bet, friendly wager, where whoever had more wins this season, total wins including playoffs, between the Lions and the Steelers, the loser had to buy the other one a jersey. And as you all know, the Lions just unveiled their new home, away, and alternate jerseys for this upcoming season and going forward. I purposely waited until those came out so I could get that new black jersey. So, Willie, thank you for copping me St. Brown jersey, right?
Had to follow through, yeah. Yep. It was going to be the Sewell, right?
I wanted the Sewell, but the night that they dropped, I saw they had the Sewell, and then they must have just ran out of them.
Yeah.
Like, people probably just went and copped them.
There was like a woman's, I think, but it was just like...
Not going to wear that. Yeah, I'm a man. So and then I was like, maybe the Gibbs one, but that one I don't think they only had that one in like the ultra expensive one or whatever.
Like almost $200.
The vapor thing, I don't know what that even means. And then so I decided to get St. Brown because I mean, obviously, like I don't even have a St. Brown jersey, which
really.
I only have one current. I only have the JMOs, the only current Lion jersey.
Really?
I have a lot of Lions jerseys. None of them are current other than JMO.
I was gonna say.
So I'm definitely very satisfied still getting the St. Brown. Honest opinion, what do you think about the Lions' new jerseys?
I think they're pretty sick. I think they could have done maybe a little more.
Right.
They're a little kind of plain, but like I love the black jerseys. The black jerseys are sick.
I think I do agree with you that they're plain. Yeah. I just liked how they changed my favorite part is the black jerseys obviously are sick, but just they changed the gray numbers to the white numbers. Yeah, that's the part that I like the most.
That does look a lot
because it just looked poor. Yeah. Like it just not poor, but like when you see the white now, it just looks it pops off more.
Yeah.
That Herman Moore throwback Lions jersey I have, it kind of looks like that a little bit now.
Yeah.
A couple other jerseys have been getting released.
The Texans are sick.
Texans are like I didn't expect that. They're pretty I didn't know they were due for a jersey update. The alternate ones I don't know how I feel about them yet.
Yeah.
I haven't seen them
blue.
With the light blue around the numbers.
Yeah.
I haven't seen them on body yet, and I think that looks way better than the Fanatics photo you get or whatever. Because even when the Lions jerseys leaked, it was that.
Yeah.
And I was like, these kind of are like mid. And then you see the photo shoot, and you're like, oh my god.
I did see Nico in one, and it looks pretty sweet.
Does it?
I think, yeah. It's definitely the way you're talking about it. Like, it looks way better on the body.
The Broncos as well released their new jerseys, which is basically their same jerseys. They just like updated them a little bit. They got rid of that ugly ass orange stripe that goes up the side of them. They just look cleaner.
They kind of just took the Blue Mountain State jerseys and made them
They do look like the Blue Mountain State. Honestly, that would be awesome if they just were the Blue Mountain State of the NFL. Yeah, exactly. Have a theme jersey, the Blue Mountain State jerseys. There's the Vikings I think are dropping a jersey. A lot of teams are unveiling their jerseys at the draft, and one of the local Detroit news stations like leaked the Broncos jerseys like on accident. They were like doing a package of like the check out the draft in Detroit, and like in one of the in one of the shots is just like the Broncos new jerseys. Pretty hilarious.
Terrible.
They just caught a stray but anyone could go see it. Like they're out for display in Detroit right now, so like you could just go see it or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, the NFL draft. Not only is it draft season, but it's in Detroit this year, which is just super awesome. I've been seeing all of the different setups around the city and everything, and the stage looks super cool. I'm super excited for it. I won't be going, but that's all right. A good amount of people I know will be there. So if you are going to the draft, that's awesome. I hope it's a great time. and maybe Brad Holmes will be nice and not trade out of the first round, because I know that's what a lot of the Lions fans are like worried about if they're going. I don't think he really cares that much. Like, he's going to do what's best for the team.
Make a business decision.
Yeah, obviously. But every year in like the last 5 years, maybe not 5 years, we've done a mock draft basically every year the last so many seasons.
It's kind of an annual thing now.
It is an annual thing. Easton is not on this mock draft. Easton really didn't know much about the mock draft, if we're being honest. When we would do the mock draft, he would even admit it. He's like, I don't really even know these guys. I'm just like saying names or whatever. So
it was just fun to get a reaction.
Yeah, he's there for the comedian. Like we'd say the guys, he'd be like, "Oh, good pick,
good pick," and then he'd say something crazy, and we'd be like, "Oh,
yeah." I did invite Easton on though, but it's just gonna be me and Willy today doing the mock draft. And if you are an OG listener of the High Tempo podcast and you've heard our mock drafts of the past, we always did our each own mock draft where we each did 32 picks. And from there on out, kind of just said who we had at what pick. We're switching it up this year. This year, we are doing almost, you could say a live mock draft where I will get the even picks and Willy will get the odds picks. And we will be in the...
Switch it around.
Switch it around. Yeah. No. Well, yes. Switch it around. Willy gets the odds picks. No, I said it wrong again. Willy gets the evens picks. He gets 2, 4, 6, 8. The reason is because Steelers have pick 20, so I figured I would give him that pick. I get the odds picks, and where I have 1, 2, 3, and the Lions have pick 29. Obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube, I will have the screen where we're doing our mock draft on in the corner here, so you can look along. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, whatever, we'll just continue to say what the previous picks were and everything. We can do trades, but this is something that I didn't really do a lot of prep for. You know, I mean, like obviously I prepped the guys, you know, like because I think that the top 10 is just like. It's not like it's set in stone, but the guys are, you already know about the guys.
Pretty much.
You kind of mentioned this to me before the show, but like the 12, the 13 through 20 range is just what's going on.
Pretty much from like 12 to the Steelers pick, it's just up in the air. I've done so many mock drafts just kind of throughout the past month or so, and it's just like every time it feels like I'm picking somebody different in those spots.
And not only is it different guys, but there's so much rumors about different teams moving up, moving back. There's a lot of teams that makes sense for them to trade back and collect more picks.
Right, yeah.
We also don't know there's more teams that need a quarterback than quarterbacks available essentially in the first round. That would make sense if you're not taking Bo Nix or Michael Penix in the first round. Maybe you are taking those guys in the first round. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this goes down because like we said, you make one pick and it changes the whole thing. And we're just going to go with the punches here.
Yeah.
One quick question before we get into this. Over under pick 9.5, JJ McCarthy, 10.5. JJ McCarthy gets picked. Like, is he a top 10 pick? Yes or no? Essentially,
yes. I think he is.
I think that we think he is, but I have a feeling he's just gonna slip to 11 or 12 to Minnesota or Denver.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
It's just it's weird because you got even the Giants who could take a quarterback,
6,
but then you got the Broncos, the Vikings, and the Raiders who are all in need of a quarterback,
right?
And who all possibly will trade up to just secure that spot, get him. Because, you could sit there at 11 as the Vikings and say, yeah, he should fall to me. But, like, Broncos their QB room is god-awful.
Yeah.
They see him fall to 5, and they're like, we got to move up. So
True.
I think one of those teams is just going to, whether he really deserves to be a top 5 pick or not, one of those teams are going to look at it and be like, yeah, I think we should move up to get this guy.
And I definitely do think, like, at this point, because in the beginning of the cycle, I was the the non-Michigan fan where I was like, there's no way JJ McCarthy gets picked in the top 10. Like, are we serious? Now it's like, okay, even if he doesn't, like, he goes right outside of it.
Yeah, it's
like
going to be 11 or 12.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he doesn't get past 12 at the very latest. So yeah, I think are we ready to hop into this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's do it. Pick number 1, the Chicago Bears on the board. This is me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now I know for sure what we're doing. This is the easiest part of the draft. Caleb Williams going first overall. There was all these talk in the offseason beforehand, like, will the Bears keep Justin Fields? Will they trade Caleb Williams? Justin Fields is on the Steelers now.
Yep.
Let's talk about that for a second, actually. We haven't talked about that. How do you feel about the Russ Fields situation as a Steelers fan?
I love it just for the fact that the con artist got them both for free, basically.
That's a good one.
I mean, you get Justin Fields for a 6th-round pick that could technically turn into a 4th-round pick. It's just like what he was rumored to be going for at the beginning of this whole discussion. A second, maybe a
Mainly
couple
was
thirds.
a second, right?
Yeah, type of thing. To get him for basically a 6th, and we got that 6th from trading Kendrick Green to the Texans. So it's like we're not even using our own pick, basically. So I think that is a steal. And then getting Russ for the league veteran minimum, you can't go wrong with it. I mean, he's a leader. He's he's older, veteran, Super Bowl ring.
I think a lot of people gave the Steelers, like in a meme way, gave them shit for getting Russell Wilson. I mean, Russ had a solid year last year. Like he was much improved from year 1 in Denver. Year 1 Denver Russ, if they were signing that version, like after 1 year, it's like, okay, he probably doesn't deserve to start. Last year was a much different situation. Their offense actually was like a pretty solid unit for not having, Javonte Williams out basically all season. Cortland Sutton is like your main wide receiver with Jerry Jeudy in and out of the lineup. Like it's not the most talented room in the world with behind a subpar offensive line. That offense was still like solid last year. Their defense was just really bad. It kind of flip-flopped. And I just think that Russ was dealt a bad hand, but was casted away during the middle of the season by when Sean Payton essentially in that group said, hey, we're going to cut you at the end of the year or whatever. And he's continued to play and didn't sit. So I think, like you said, it's the leader thing.
Yeah.
I think that there's a real world, though, where Justin Fields, I've kind of talked about this with you, never plays a snap. Or, okay, he might get in a snap, but, never plays significant snaps for the Steelers and then just leaves in the offseason and goes to another team.
No, I can totally see that, too, and I can totally see him starting at the beginning of the season and running with the job.
Right. It's really up in the air right now.
It is. And because, you can go by if he plays more than 50% of the snaps, it turns into a 4th-round pick, so you might as well start Russ for the first half of the season. What if Russ just cooks?
Let Russ cook.
We have a good year. You can't bench him.
That's exactly what I was saying. Just the reason that I say that situation is a hypothetical isn't because I think Fields is going to be bad. No, it's like if Russ wins that job day 1, he's probably going to lead the Steelers to another solid season, Yeah, I mean, he's probably not going to do anything to lose the job necessarily.
We basically got the same exact team. We've got better pieces in spots, and all we were really lacking, besides a few offensive line pieces, was a quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. And they went 10-7 last year with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph as their quarterbacks.
You get a competent quarterback in there who's thrown more touchdowns last year than Kenny Pickett has in his entire career. I don't see how you can be worse.
Yeah, and you added 2 guys that are better than Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, exactly.
and obviously, I think most Steelers fans' ideal world is that Fields is still the quarterback of the future. You have Russ for this year to most likely be the starter.
A Band-Aid type
kind
of
makes because
groom.
I will say I'm not as high on Fields as the next guy. I think a lot of people think Fields has this ultra potential, which I think he has potential.
I think he has potential.
I think what he has shown so far is not anything unordinary. I don't think he's been spectacular by any means. Some people think he broke out last season.
Right.
But they're not bringing him in to come be the savior. They're bringing him in with Russ to say, hey, this is what a stable organization looks like with a good unit and probably the best situation you've been in. Last year, Bears wasn't that bad. The previous 2 seasons with Bears, really bad. But it's going to be interesting to see how the contract goes because Fields is going into year 4, if I'm not wrong, right?
And they're
does have a 5th-year option.
They said they would be making the 5th year on him and Najee after the draft.
Okay, so
I doubt they take Fields,
right?
Just because it's a $25 or $26 million 5th-year option. So you might as well not do that and just sign him to a deal. What if he doesn't play? He wants to come back. You can sign him for less.
You could probably sign him for pretty cheap. Maybe it's on a short-term deal because he wants to prove that he can start and then get paid afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
Because also maybe there's also a team that throws him a bag though in the offseason. Who knows? It's going to be a really interesting situation. But getting back to the first pick, I'm going with Caleb Williams. No questions about it. It scares me that there is a world where the 3 quarterbacks other than Jared Goff in the NFC North are Caleb Williams, Jordan Love, and J.J. McCarthy / Drake May / Jaden Daniels, with 2 of those guys on rookie contracts, Jordan Love on a steal of a contract, and Goff going to be making like $50 million. It's a little bit
pretty scary.
A little bit scary, but that's a problem like 2 or 3 years from now. Right now, we'll focus on what's going on. Willie, up with the 2nd overall pick.
I've been debating this pick for a long time, and it sounds like Washington likes Jaden Daniels more than they like Drake May. But then again, I think Drake May is a safer pick personally.
Right.
But I think because it's Cliff Kingsbury.
Yes.
He's their OC. I think he'll want to go get a more mobile, which Drake May is kind of underrated in that aspect. But I think they love the mobility of Jaden Daniels more. So I think they're going to take Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I think that all signs are kind of pointing towards that right now, which wasn't that way for the longest time. It was Drake May, and then there was that weird little stretch of like, is JJ going to go 2nd overall?
Yeah, dude. I mean, his odds are right up
still,
there.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to happen. Like, there's a chance he's QB3, I think.
Yeah.
QB2 is a little aggressive, I would say. But yeah, it seems like Jaden Daniels is the guy for Washington right now. Here's the problem. Process of elimination tells me that all 4 of these quarterbacks are not going to be all-pro caliber quarterbacks.
Yeah.
More than likely, not more than 2 of them are going to be,
right.
I'm not that just if I'm not even saying like Jaden Daniels' skill set, I'm just going off of if there's 2 out of these 4 QBs who are most likely to be the studs, Jaden Daniels I don't think's one of them for me.
And I thought it was gonna be Drake May for the longest time. That wasn't gonna be, but I've definitely flipped. I think it might be Jaden Daniels.
That's kind of how I feel.
Could be that,
but
guy,
he could be like this could just be one of those classes too. This could be like a legendary quarterback class. But you look at the quarterback class of 2021, was that with Trevor Lawrence, where it was 4 or was it 3 QB? Yeah, 3 QBs off the board. Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, and then Justin Fields was picked 12 or whatever. Yeah. And then Mac Jones was like in the middle of that first round.
15, I think.
5 QBs went in the top half of the first round, and one of them's good. Like Trevor, he's not even like elite, good. Like he's like, solid. It's just kind of weird because at that time it was like, holy crap, this quarterback class is crazy. And you look back at it and it's like now we're having kind of that same thing going on here.
Jones is backing up Trevor Lawrence right now.
I kind of forgot about that. Yeah. A couple of those teams are like guys are on different teams now. Yeah. Most of them are on different teams now. So it's really interesting to see what Washington does. Yeah, I think that Jaden Daniels is going to be the pick, though.
I think so, too. The more and more I think about it.
Yeah. I see people comparing him to Lamar Jackson. I think that's an irrational comparison. I think he's a lot more like Sam Howell than he is like Lamar Jackson. He's just not the decision maker Lamar Jackson is. Right. He's definitely not
He has the running ability, but he also doesn't rely on his legs almost like Lamar.
Exactly.
Kind of does.
And Lamar, I think, is, while he does avoid tackles really well, I think he is safe with his body, and I think he knows when to attack and when to not. I think Jaden Daniels is almost always in like attack mode as far as I'm gonna get every yard I can.
You see some of them clips which is him just running in there with reckless abandon.
Yeah.
And he's just jumping over people getting knocked out. It's like, dude.
Sam Howell did that too.
You're not gonna be able to do that in the NFL. Someone's gonna cut you in half.
I am kind of sad that we aren't going to get to see the Sam Howell show next year because, man, he was a fun quarterback to watch. I loved
watching him.
Like, he was just fun because it was like he's going to do the craziest thing every play. He throws a pick, he's going to come out the next drive, first play, and throw a 30-yard bomb downfield.
He's just so fun because he's a 5th-round pick. No one really expected him to be there. So
yeah, and he still could. I mean, he's a backup in Seattle now, and with the aging Geno Smith, like there's a world where he could potentially work his way back.
Yeah.
Is Drew Lock's in New York now with the Giants? Is that correct?
I guess I don't know.
I don't really know either. I don't think he's with Seattle anymore. I think he's with the Giants. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. All right, pick 3. This like we were just talking about 2021 draft. 3 QBs went off the board. There's a world where 4 QBs go off the board here in the first 4 if there's a trade. Here at pick 3, this is another weird one because you hear the rumblings that's like Gerard Mayo wants to play it safe, and he wants to just take Marvin Harrison, or he wants to take the best player on the board as a first-year head coach, doesn't want to make too rational of a decision. At the same time, you don't have a quarterback.
Right.
You have Jacoby Brissett, who you brought back to New England. Bailey Zappi, who might be better than Mac Jones. Is the fact that that's even a conversation shows you that he probably shouldn't be the starter.
He shouldn't be your starter.
And Robert Kraft, I think, would, after making the decision to not bring back Bill Belichick, I think is looking for the next era of New England Patriots football. That starts with drafting a quarterback. So Drake May is going to be the pick here for me at pick 3. I would be surprised if New England didn't take a quarterback.
I've seen a few times now that Drake May gets picked number 2 to the Commanders. They like Drake May more than they like Jaden Daniels.
The Pats.
They don't feel comfortable taking Jaden Daniels for whatever reason. So they trade back.
Ooh,
someone trades up
like
trades up with the Patriots. It's interesting. I mean, if you are set on you want Drake May, or obviously if Caleb Williams falls, you'll take him.
Right.
But it's probably not gonna. Then, and you don't like Jaden Daniels, you might as well trade back, get a bunch more capital. You got Bo Nix, who is a quality quarterback.
He's going to come in and be your best guy at least. Yeah.
So I mean, if you think you can fall back and get him at a later pick, then why not?
Right.
I mean, get a bunch of capital. Get a lot of
to trade up for a quarterback in the NFL is the most costly thing to do. It's going to take multiple firsts.
In this position, teams are trading up for a quarterback, so you're going to make them overpay a little.
And
more.
the teams, unless you're the Giants at 6, the teams trading up are sitting outside of the top 10.
Yeah.
So they are trading next year's first, and maybe the next year's first after that, and then this year's second, and it's like.
And the Vikings are really one of the only teams that have enough capital.
Exactly, the Broncos want to move up. They don't have a lot of picks. Yeah. And they also haven't had a lot of picks in the last several years either. Now they finally have their own first back. It's
you can't trade
now you're going to trade them all? You just traded the guy who you traded them all for away, So, but yeah, in this situation, the Pats stay at pick 3. I definitely think that is very interesting if May goes second and the Patriots decide to hold off. But in this situation, they take Drake May at 3rd. Willy on the clock with the 4th pick with the Arizona Cardinals on the clock.
I've seen them trading back a few times.
I have as well.
Teams trading up to take JJ 4th. I really don't think so. You got probably the best player in the draft sitting right in your hands, falling to 4. I don't think you could pass that. I think they take Marvin Harrison Jr. here.
Yeah, I think I think it's kind of a no-brainer. They moved back in last year's draft, and it really worked out for them because Paris Johnson was kind of their top guy on the board last year, at least for a fit need. They really needed a tackle. They had the 6th overall pick. Paris Johnson was going to be there a little bit later, so they decided to – or no, they had the 3rd overall pick. 3rd overall pick, dropped back to 11 or whatever, moved back up to 6 with the Lions and picked Paris Johnson there, but gained Houston's first-round pick of this upcoming season in this draft, which they have 2 firsts here. So, I mean, a trade down definitely is in play, but with Kyler Murray, you solidifying that he is your franchise quarterback still, which I think is the right decision, by the way. Guys like Kyler Murray, you can hate on him if you want. There's not that many good quarterbacks in the NFL. He can win you games. He's one of them, Yeah. So you don't take that for granted. You got to take Marv. That wide receiver room is empty.
It's garbage. You got to go get him a big playmaker. Go get Marvin Harrison.
Michael Wilson, I think, is the only receiver I know that's in that. They traded Rondale Moore for Desmond Ridder straight up, right? Didn't that trade happen? I think it did. So.
Yeah. I know Desmond Ridder got traded. I
think it was Ridder for Rondale Moore straight up, which is just the weirdest trade of all time. So, the only guy I know in that room is Michael Wilson. Unless there's
I couldn't tell you
better name that I'm forgetting.
I was going to say Rondale Wilson, but I totally forgot.
Exactly.
Forgot all about that.
So Marvin Harrison comes in, has the potential to be, one of the better wide receivers in the NFL, the wide receiver 1 of this team with Kyler Murray right away. We saw how good D-Hop was in that short stretch with Kyler Murray. Marvin Harrison, I mean, from a fantasy perspective, how high is he going in the drafts? I mean, he's got to be a top 3 round pick, right?
That's what I'm saying.
That, and it's usually the rookie running backs are the guys that go high, But the rookie receivers, you don't see it.
But we haven't seen a prospect like him.
Exactly.
In a long time.
Like you said, could potentially be the best guy in the entire draft.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to pick 5. the LA Chargers. This, I think, is one of the most interesting spots in the whole draft because of Jim Harbaugh, right? Also, weird stat today I saw. Odds that the Chargers, they have like what each team will pick in the first round or whatever, like what position group on sports books. Quarterback for the Chargers just jumped up to plus 600 today.
I saw 3 different posts this morning, and I haven't seen a single thing before that about the Chargers trading Justin Herbert to the Vikings and taking J.J. McCarthy.
Oh my God, dude. If that happens, I will freak out. If Justin Herbert's on the Vikings, oh my God, I'll freak out. He needs to get on the Lions.
You've been saying that for a minute.
Dude, as soon as the Chargers season flamed out, before the Lions even went on their playoff run, I was like, dude, trade Goff in the next 4 firsts for Herbert. Like, seriously.
Do it. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Like, you're set. Like, you're fine. Like, this is our core.
Around him is good.
This is our core for the next so many seasons. You don't need first round picks.
No.
But anyways, that's not going to happen. So I don't know if that is related to that, with the quarterback odds for the Chargers jumping up here. I am going to have a quarterback get picked here, but it's not going to be via the Chargers. I think that the Chargers have several needs, right? They have, right here, you're probably thinking, okay, are you taking tackle or are you taking receiver? Because that receiver room now that Keenan Allen, Mike Williams are both gone is god-awful. Josh Palmer, Quentin Johnson. I think Palmer's an expiring contract after this year too, so he'll be gone anyways. I don't even know another guy on that. Darius Davis, I think, is a guy on their team.
I don't even know.
Quentin Johnson was terrible as a rookie. Yeah. I don't think you can just expect him to take this year 2 leap after that atrocious year 1.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people, argued he wasn't even a great prospect coming out. He just had a great college football playoff, and that was basically why his stock got shot up. So here, I'm going to have the Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers do something a little bit different. I think that they're going to try to gain more capital in this draft. I think that there's a lot of good tackles in this class, and I think that they can wait and get a guy potentially a little bit later in this first round. So I'm going to have a trade happen here. I'm going to have the Chargers trading down with the Vikings. I think that will be the team. I was going to think about the Broncos, but they just don't. They don't have the picks. So in this scenario here, this is going to affect. Actually, no, it's not going to affect you at all because I have the 11th pick as well. So in this trade, I will have the Chargers trading with the Minnesota Vikings, and the Vikings will be here at pick 5. Where are they? There they are. I'm just going to
probably be the 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, it definitely would be. Yep. So Minnesota would trade the 23rd pick, which they acquired from Houston, I believe, right?
Yes.
And that was the Cleveland Browns pick.
Yes.
Lot of confusing
Who did they
ties.
Trade?
That was from Deshaun Watson.
Or Deshaun Watson. How did the Vikings get that?
They traded like a bunch of later. They traded like a second this year and then a second next year and a bunch of like late pick swaps and stuff like that to basically move up from. They had like a high second rounder, I think, somewhere in the 30s. They just like moved up 10 spots essentially. So yeah, it'll be 11, 23, 5, probably their first next year as well, and then maybe like a late pick swap like Minnesota gets 105 and Chargers get 129. Something along those lines. It probably takes all 3 first, though. It probably takes 11, 23 in your first next year, moving up 6 spots in a quarter to get a quarterback. It's not going to be nothing light. It's going to be a high price. I think Jim Harbaugh takes advantage of that because this Chargers team does have a lot of holes. They're a very aging roster as well. This trade has been rejected. Okay, what?
How does that even work?
I own every team, bruh. let me
probably just have to stack one.
Is there a way that I can adjust this trade? Where the hell is Minnesota? There they are. Okay, let's try to figure this out. Yeah, trade with them. Thank you. We can do that. 11 and 23 for 5. I guess, should I still include that, or should I just do this?
Maybe just try that.
Okay, it's been accepted. So, Minnesota, you get to keep your first next year in this hypothetical world. Okay, Minnesota on the clock at pick 5. I wanted to be more creative and think of a different team to trade up, but Minnesota just makes the most sense. I'd be kind of shocked if they didn't. So I'm going to have them select J.J. McCarthy here with the 5th overall pick. So 4 quarterbacks in the top 5.
Pretty crazy.
I think J.J. McCarthy, I don't know how I feel about him because I do like some things. Like, I like that he is one of the youngest guys in the whole entire draft. And I think that we saw a lot of flashes at Michigan. I think especially especially in games where they played against like not as good of teams. Like you saw him air it out, and it's like, wow,
you
he
saw
really
what
is a
he
cannon.
could do.
You saw that play. I think that was against Ohio State where they did like the flea flicker back to him, and it got fumbled, and he just grabbed it and flung it on a crazy angle. Like he can make plays. It just wasn't on a high stage. I think that there definitely is, like, it's going to take some time. I don't think he's going to come in and be great right away, especially on this Minnesota team that potentially is, their offense is not a great unit at the moment. But
I also think they are the best spot for any QB in this top 5
obviously. Yeah, with having Justin Jefferson,
the weapons,
for sure.
Jordan Addison, and Kevin O'Connell is great offensive mind.
Yeah.
So I think
it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about JJ being like a star, but I don't think he's gonna suck. Like I'm not in that. I'm kind of in the middle of like I think he's gonna be solid, but he has the ceiling to be a really good quarterback.
Yeah.
I would say.
For sure.
We could look back on this in 5 years and he's really great, or he's out of the league. Like and we look weird. And I took the safe route for saying he could be either one. I really don't know. So on the clock here at pick 6, the New York Giants get screwed over, and they're stuck with Daniel Jones next year.
Who did I have going here?
This is
tough because
I think
they could go tackle. They
could go tackle because Evan Neal has been not phenomenal for them when they drafted in the first round a couple years ago. Andrew Thomas was injured, I think, almost all of last season. But also they're a team that they could take quarterback. But I think that, like you said, there's bigger needs with receiver, and I think you're just fine with letting Daniel Jones play out another season, right?
Yeah.
Like.
I mean, you've come this
long. He was
long.
bad last year, but like I think you just let him play another year.
Go get him a big play weapon like Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, that's gonna be the
pick. Get him someone who's gonna be the star receiver there again.
Yeah, and a lot of people think Neighbors is the best run after the catch guy in this whole draft, even ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr. Like he is another absolute playmaker. And another team that has a wide receiver room that you can't name any guys in. Isaiah Hodgins. I don't know if Sterling Shepard is still there. I don't know if Slayton's still there. I think Wan'Dale Robinson's still there. It's a lot of guys that are below average.
Yeah. Just a not great receiver room.
Definitely, not at all. So Malik Neighbors is the pick at 6. Pick 7, the Tennessee Titans. I think this is where we start to see a little bit more obvious picks. I guess kind of pick 6 was as well. But that Titans unit, offensive tackle, just seems like the play for them. This is a team that went out and hired Brian Callahan from the Cincinnati Bengals. I think Brian Callahan's dad, Bill Callahan, is well known as like the best offensive tackle or best offensive line coach in all of the NFL. And he followed him there. So I think that is a huge addition as well. They were pretty aggressive in the offseason. They signed Calvin Ridley. They signed Tony Pollard. They signed someone on defense as well. I can't really remember who it was, but I think here just adding Joe Alt to this core, left tackle out of Notre Dame, probably the best tackle in the class. I think that some people have different opinions on that, but I think he's a surefire. Going to add to that unit. They drafted Peter Skoronski like 2 years ago, so keep building up that young offensive line.
Go protect Will Levis. See what he can do. I think he could be good. Mm-hmm. Go protect him. Get your left tackle for the future.
Exactly. In the offseason, they added weapons for him. Now in the draft, you add protection for him. And like you said, I think Levis can be good as well. Yeah. And I'm excited to see this new era of Titans football.
Yeah, it's going to be different.
It's going to be a lot different. No Derrick Henry.
Run it up the middle with Derrick Henry 30 times a game.
It's going to be Will Levis. I think they're going to be a very pass-heavy offense
Yeah, they
now.
could.
I think it's going to kind of switch on its head. I mean, you have Tony Pollard as your running back. He's not this 12, 20 carries a game guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to be heavily involved in the pass game.
For sure.
Like Callahan was the offensive coordinator with the Bengals. They're one of the more pass-heavy teams in the entire NFL, so it's going to be very exciting to see that. That's why I got Alt here going 7.
Yeah.
Pick 8, the Atlanta Falcons. Willie, you are on the clock. Do we see the first defensive player go off the board here?
I think we do. I have him taking Dallas Turner here, the best defensive player in the draft. Mm-hmm. I mean, dude is a pretty dirty player, but I think he's
speaking from experience. I assume.
Yeah, I've seen him, but I think along with this kind of a projection, I think he's going to be the decoy.
Yeah.
I mean, he just has all the tools to be an elite pass rusher. I don't see how you pass him when edge is one of your major needs.
Another team that is in a new era, hiring a defensive mind apart from an offensive mind, and Arthur Smith, Raheem Morris from the LA Rams. I think it makes a lot of sense here
does.
just to continue to, you sign Kirk Cousins, you kind of build up that offense a little bit.
Your offense looks good. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think you need to attack defense. Get a star in Dallas Turner.
And you're potentially getting you're getting the first defensive guy off the board 8 picks into the draft.
Yeah.
That's pretty great. Obviously, this is an offensive draft. I've seen mock drafts where there's an offensive player go until pick 12, pick 14. I've seen the corners being the first defensive guys off the board, and Dallas Turner kind of falling a little bit. But I agree. Dallas Turner's a guy that I dream that the Lions can trade up for. I think it would just be...
that'd be crazy.
Brad Holmes is the biggest Alabama guy of all time. Like, he just is obsessed with Alabama and Iowa. He's just obsessed with those two programs. And then in the last 2 drafts, the Lions have traded out of one of their spots to draft a Alabama player at pick 12. And the Broncos have pick 12, and they need extra picks. So, like...
Might as well.
Dallas Turner's there, man. Trade up to pick 12. Take him. Trade up, get Terry and Arnold. You never know.
Might as well, dude.
But yeah, in this situation, Dallas Turner goes 8 to Atlanta. I like it. Pick 9, the Chicago Bears making their second pick of the draft. This is such a tough one.
It is.
I've seen a lot of different scenarios here. I've seen the Rome Odunze going here. Caleb Williams tweeted the other day, just got on my flight to Detroit, saw Rome Odunze. He's so cool, or something like that. I'm a big fan.
Big fan.
Something like that. I was like, okay, dude, this is the most like Magic Johnson tweet of all time. I've seen the Brock Bowers going here. Which that is very interesting. Obviously, you have Cole Kmet, and he's a better tight end in the NFL.
That's what I was going to say. It doesn't make as much sense as these other positions.
Right.
But, I mean, he's generational.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
tight end
maybe you just want to, you don't pass up on that. You also signed Keenan Allen this offseason, or traded for Keenan Allen. You have DJ Moore. They don't have Mooney. Mooney's with the Falcons now, I believe. So you don't have Mooney anymore. So you still could use another receiver. Keenan Allen probably only has 2 years like max in the tank, and he's a free agent after this year anyways. So it probably makes sense here to go Odunze. I definitely don't mind going to that defense as well, taking a Jared Verse, taking a Latu. But I think that you probably go with Odunze here. After you traded for Montez Sweat last year, your defense became a pretty good unit. And I think that you can probably afford to go wait for that later in the draft. Offensive line definitely is a need for the Bears, but I think that getting Odunze after drafting Caleb Williams is just such a W. So I'm going to rock with Odunze.
You get Rome Odunze, who could be a top receiver in a lot of past drafts.
Yeah.
I mean, he is an elite wide receiver. These top 3 receivers are the best 3 receivers to come into the NFL in a long time.
And think about the guys that have come into the NFL the last several years.
Yeah.
Jamar, Jalen Waddle, Justin Jefferson.
Big names.
Garrett Wilson, like Chris Olave. I could keep going. It's crazy.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Rome Odunze, pick 9. Moving on to pick 10, we are just getting into the top 10 of the draft, or outside of the top 10. The New York Jets on the board here. Jets are in another team that's in an interesting spot. I think they would have loved for one of those 3 receivers to fall to them at pick 10. Aaron Rodgers will be back this season. It seemed like tackle was the play for them for the longest time, but then they signed Trent Brown, I believe.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily not a need anymore because he's old, but they filled that hole at least. Do they still go tackle here at 10?
I don't think so. I think they go get Rodgers another weapon and take Brock Bowers here.
Okay, I like that. Bowers in the top 10. Bowers is a guy that's all over the board in every mock draft.
I've seen him dropped out of the top 15. I've seen him taken as high as like 5. Mm-hmm. Harbaugh take him. But I don't think you can pass on him when tight end is a need. I mean, tight ends, you kind of get scared drafting him high, but I mean, this he's different.
He's different.
He can play all over the field. You could split him out. You can keep him inside. He's a great run blocker. I mean, I don't think you could pass on a guy like this.
They do have CMU legend Tyler Conklin over there in New York.
They do.
Fire up chips, but I think that Brock Bowers is a clear upgrade over him.
Yeah.
And like you said, guys like Brock Bowers he's not your typical tight end. Like tight end 2 is not going to be off the board for, till the, I don't know, late second round. I really don't know. Like it's going to be,
I don't think
it ain't going to be in the first round. Yeah. So that shows you how good of a prospect Bowers is. Mm-hmm. And I just think that, like you said, the Jets don't have much longer with Aaron Rodgers. Obviously,
Right.
he played a snap for them last year. Like, he barely played. So you got to try your best to keep him satisfied, especially on that offensive side. So Bowers at 10. I'm a fan of it. Bowers was a guy that at pick 11 here with the Chargers. I think I was gonna pull. I think I was gonna pull the trigger here.
I saw it a lot.
Early
Harbaugh
in the
loves that
process, it was like Bowers at 5 to the Chargers. Yeah, because of Harbaugh.
Harbaugh loves that 12-man personnel. You know, it'd be a great fit. He loves
Right.
some flex tight ends like Colston Loveland was.
Yep.
Jake Butt. You know, I think it would have been a great fit, but I don't think the Jets will let him pass.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. So the Chargers, after moving down to pick 11, I had the Vikings trading up from pick 11 to pick 5, if you don't remember. So they are here at pick 11 now. I think that their decision's been made here, because at pick 5, it's either tackle or it's wide receiver. Here at pick 11, you're probably not reaching for Brian Thomas this high. You could, I guess. Like, it depends on how you feel about him. But I think Jim Harbaugh goes with the offensive lineman here. They need that help on the O-line. If they want to get that great run game that he had at Michigan, it starts in the trenches and the O-line. It just kind of depends on who's your guy here. Is it Olu Fashanu? Is it Talisa Fuaga? I'm going to go with Fuaga out of Oregon State. Really? I think that he's another guy that kind of has been falling a little bit in the mocks. I think that he was originally in the debates to be that top offensive tackle, kind of fallen a little bit. I think that it's clearly Alt now, and then you have Fashanu, and then there's a couple other guys that are also kind of making their name in that conversation. But I'm going to go with Fuaga out of Oregon State, because why would Jim Harbaugh take a Penn State guy, you know?
Yeah, why?
Exactly. He's not a fan of them. Okay, pick 12. The Denver Broncos here didn't trade up because they don't have the assets to trade up.
No.
And they traded for Zach Wilson. So are they sticking with Zach Wilson? Are they waiting to draft a quarterback later? Or are they taking one here now?
I think it's hard to pass on a quarterback here.
Right.
Even if they aren't projected for for a while.
Right.
You know, they could fall outside the first round.
Because I'm pretty sure they don't have a second round pick. I'm almost positive they don't have a second round pick.
So, I mean, I've listened to a lot of like Joel Klatt's mock drafts and stuff, and he talks about how Sean Payton likes him because he fits his game style.
Likes Bo Nix. Yeah.
So I think I'm going to go Bo Nix here. It makes sense. It's a reach, I think, but I think you got to lock up that quarterback position, because that is one of the worst quarterback rooms I think I've ever seen. And I had Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, and Mitchell Trubisky last year.
That's a really good point. It's definitely a reach, especially because, I think it definitely is a reach, right? But the fact that you let Russ go and then didn't really have a plan after that, shows that they just are definitely taking their quarterback, right?
Yeah.
But they traded for Zach Wilson. I know that's a meme or whatever, but there's a world where they legit don't get a quarterback till the third round. Bo Nix and Penix are gone, and it's oh shit.
Then you're just uh-oh.
We have to draft, Spencer Rattler, and Zach Wilson's going to be our quarterback next year, I guess, So I do think that this is a popular trade down spot too, if they can acquire a second round pick.
A lot of Steelers trade up.
Exactly. Take the quarterback in the second round. Take Bo Nix or Penix if you acquire a second round pick and move down, or you still take them in the first round, depending on how far you move down. But I think either way, the Broncos probably leave the draft. They're the most likely team to leave the draft with Bo Nix, I would say.
I think it's a good fit. I like Bo Nix. I really love Bo Nix. He's a great quarterback. It's just he's old, and he doesn't do anything
spectacular.
Yeah. He does everything really good, but it's just he doesn't have that great part in his game like these other top 4 quarterbacks do have.
Mm-hmm. I also think that I think he's clear quarterback 4 or quarterback 5, excuse me. I see a lot of the recent hype for Michael Penix too. I'm really not that high on Michael Penix. I think that he really is kind of another one of those guys that really benefited from playing big in big moments, which obviously that's great. That's what you want to do. But he has so many negatives, I think, to his game. Obviously, the injury history. He was relatively healthy all of last season, so that was more of an Indiana Michael Penix thing with the injuries. But he's really inaccurate. He's not a pin pocket passing quarterback. He's going to make the great pass. People compare him to Tua like he's just because they're lefties. It's like that's just wrong.
It's just
Tua
weird.
actually is Tua is a good pocket passer.
Yeah.
He gets the ball to his guys.
He just doesn't have the arm strength.
Exactly. Michael Penix is like the opposite. He can sling that thing.
He's got great downfield accuracy, but underneath it's just like it's all over the place.
Exactly. You saw in that national championship game, it was.
You get some pressure in the guy's face, and it's just like he's a whole different player.
And another guy that's old as well. So I do think that Nix is the clear QB5. Not saying that Penix can't be good.
Right.
But I think that Bo Nix is definitely going to be picked before him. Pick 13, the Las Vegas Raiders. Another team that could take a quarterback. I think they're just going to have Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell fight it out and see who does better this year. Kind of just a bridge year-esque. It is probably the last year Devontae Adams as a Raider, so it does suck that you're kind of wasting that with Minshew and or Aiden O'Connell. But Minshew was solid last year with the Colts. He's probably just going to be your bridge quarterback this season. Figure it out for next year.
He's
serviceable, yes. Yeah. There's a world where you take Michael Penix probably in the second round. I don't think he would go this high at 13, but with 5 quarterbacks already up the board, you never really know. But here for the Raiders, this is definitely a tougher spot. They had a very interesting offseason, letting go of Josh Jacobs, but they brought in Christian Wilkins from the Miami Dolphins. I think I'm going to have them boost up that defensive line even more. It's going to be a crazy lineup of Max Crosby. No, I'm not going to have them do that, actually.
I was going to say, that's crazy.
Doesn't really make sense. Because I didn't want to have them take corner, but I think it makes most sense for them to take corner. Because every mock I've seen has them going corner here. So I kind of wanted to switch it up.
You got your choice of any corner.
Exactly. And a lot of people have Quinyon Mitchell recently as CB1.
I've seen it
mainly just because he does it all. Like he doesn't really have a weak part in his game, but he did it in the MAC. So that's the only part that people are kind of like a little iffy about.
But then again, you look at Sauce Gardner. He did that
at Cincinnati. I still like Terrion Arnold the most personally. Just because I just think he was a stud this year at Alabama, going up against great competition. Kind of was a guy that Kool-Aid had the spotlight on him coming into this year, and Terrion Arnold was the guy that was like, we're going to avoid Kool-Aid McKinstry because he's the guy. And then Terrion Arnold really got to show his ass because he was like,
because he's getting
thrown at all the time, and he's locking down. So I think that is why I am going to select Terrion Arnold here to the Las Vegas Raiders. It makes the most sense for them to go corner. They could go tackle as well. That is definitely not out of the question. But this is a good spot for the Raiders with 5 quarterbacks going off of the board.
Yeah.
You don't really need receiver. Like you could take receiver. You don't really need one though. And all of them have gone anyways. So you get one of the top corners, top defensive players in the draft falling right in your lap at pick 13. Pick 14, the New Orleans Saints, another team that, hypothetically could take a quarterback.
Could go QB.
You are probably just rocking with Derek Carr for another year.
Yeah.
I would assume.
I think so.
But you never know. Maybe they stash one up for afterwards. What do you got here for the Saints?
I like them taking tackle here. I think they go Olu here.
Yeah.
I mean, beef up that O-line. They need tackle. Might as well go get
Ryan Ramczyk is not getting any younger.
And who's even on the other side?
Couldn't tell you after Teron Armstead left. That was 3 years ago.
Yeah. But I think Olu's the second best tackle in this draft. I think you go get him.
Mm-hmm. And he fell here to pick 14. You're getting him as the third offensive lineman off the board. Right. So this is a good offensive tackle class as well. There's a lot of tackles late in this first round that have really been rising up boards. Offensive linemen in general, not even tackles. This is just this draft class is really weird. It's quarterbacks, receivers, and offensive linemen. And then there's the splash of corner.
Yeah.
And the splash of edge.
Not
really even that many edge.
No, there's 2 of them.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's at the late first round, there could be guys.
I like Leatu Latu, but the injury concern is a big thing with a lot of teams, and I've seen him falling, and that's why a lot of people say
he's been going later in a lot. I've seen him falling out of the first round in some mock drafts as well. Okay, pick 15 here, the Indianapolis Colts. This has been the most popular Brock Bowers spot I have seen. If he gets here, obviously in this current mock, he has not gone. For you audio listeners, the last couple of picks, we had Olu Fashanu going 14, Terrion Arnold 13, Bo Nix 12, Talisa Fuaga going 11 in a trade to the Chargers, and Brock Bowers 10th. So here at 15, the Colts. Like I said, this has been a popular spot for Brock Bowers. Anthony Richardson will be back, which is really exciting for them. They had a good season last year without him. And I think here you're adding to that receiver core. That's what I think that they're going to do. Michael Pittman is a certified wide receiver 1 after this season, had a phenomenal year. I think he got paid as well. And I think you go out and you draft Brian Thomas out of LSU to continue to add to this group. Brian Thomas has been a draft riser the last month. Sure. I mean, you look at right when the draft process started, he was like a really late first, most likely a second-round guy, and then he kind of started rising, and now he's the consensus wide receiver 4, essentially.
And it's kind of like a Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson thing.
Yeah.
You know, one guy kind of gets overshadowed because the other guy's so freaking good. Malik Neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
He's good too.
Brian Thomas is just as good.
He's really good.
And I've seen what did
he run, a 4.33 or something?
I think so, incredibly fast.
He's like 6'2".
I've seen the mocks,
something.
a couple mocks with the Chiefs trading up and drafting
crazy.
Brian Thomas. Imagine that, dude.
They need
because who did they got Marquise Brown this all? Yeah, they got Marquise Brown. Rashee Rice. What's up with him? I forgot about that.
I haven't heard anything, dude. I saw that he turned himself in, and then that's it.
Is he just going to be back? It's the NFL. He'll probably be back.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
He didn't do anything too crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been worse things done by current players in the NFL. Deshaun. Number 16, the Seattle Seahawks on the board here, Willie. What do you got him doing?
Well, I look and I see Mike McDaniel. New head coach for the Seahawks.
Okay, wait, here's a question. Is he your second favorite head coach in the NFL now? Or third? Okay, yeah.
Third.
Obviously behind Jim Harbaugh.
I'm a big
Mike
Chargers
Tomlin.
fan now.
Yeah, that's fair.
Never liked them. Now I do.
Okay. But you got my Herbert jersey on Sundays.
Deal. But defensive-minded head coach. And I think he's going to want to build his defense the way he had it at Michigan. He's going to run the same defense, obviously. I think they go get a big run-stopping interior defensive lineman. I think they take Byron Murphy.
Yeah, out of Texas.
Yeah. I've seen him jumping over Johnny Newton a lot.
I've seen a little bit of Johnny Newton kind of they're kind of mixed together. Yeah, like whoever goes first. I like that. I think that's a good pick. Yeah. They traded for Leonard Williams last year from the Giants during the middle of the season. He wasn't great for them after they traded for him. So they definitely got to try and beef up that defense a little bit more.
Big run-stopping D linemen, hard edges, and athletic people in the back.
Yeah, I think he's also just one of those guys he's gonna be a good player.
Yeah,
like right away. He's definitely not like hopefully he turns out kind of guy. Like I think he's just gonna be good just because of the position. I think he goes a little bit later here. If we're talking prospects in the draft, you could argue that he's a top 10 prospect in general, regardless of position. Crazy. I think that's a great pick here. Before the Lions signed Reeder, there was a lot of rumors about them trading up for Murphy as well, which that would have been cool.
Nice.
But that's all right. We didn't need to do that. Moving on, pick 17, the Jacksonville Jaguars, another team that I've seen up as a kind of a popular trade down team for these later first round teams like the Lions, like the Bills to move up.
One of the teams I have no clue
that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Way they could go.
What a weird offseason.
It's
not only the Jags had the entire AFC North.
It's just weird.
Or AFC South.
It's weird.
Really weird. Like it seemed like the Jags were the Titans went out and did a bunch of crazy stuff. The Colts really did nothing. The Texans went out and did a bunch of crazy stuff. The Jags did nothing and traded for Mac Jones. Like
huge.
It was a really weird offseason. I think that the Jaguars probably just like play it safe here. I don't know because I was going to say they probably go offensive tackle, but I think I'm going to switch it up. I think I'm actually going to have them go corner. Darius Williams, their corner last year, signed with the Rams. They still have, who's their other corner? I'm trying to think. CJ something is their other cornerback.
I can't think of him right now.
So, but they lost Darius Williams, so I think that they have to try and pair him up with another guy. So I am going to have them take Quinyon Mitchell here at pick 17.
I like that.
I think that, like you said, the Jags could really do a lot of things here. I think offensive line is definitely in play for them. But I'm going to have Quinyon Mitchell at pick 17. Pick 18, the Cincinnati Bengals. Interesting Bengals news coming out today. A couple of different things. Trey Hendrickson requested a trade because he did not get a new contract. And then immediately after, T. Higgins reiterated that he wants a trade. That was news like months ago, and then it kind of just died down, and it's back. Do we see him get traded on draft night potentially?
It's a possibility.
We've seen it in recent years. We saw A.J. Brown get traded on draft night a couple years ago when he was in a contract feud with the Titans and then literally got traded like the pick that the Eagles were up, and then the Titans drafted Treylon Burks, his replacement, and he just has never been the same.
No.
Another guy, Brandon Ayuk, that potentially could get traded on draft night. But T. Higgins, it's very interesting. The Bengals could end up with 2 first-round picks potentially here if they do trade it. But here they're at pick 18. What are you thinking for him?
I like him taking a tackle here. Go beef up that O-line for Joe Burrow. Protect him. I think they're going to take Troy Fontanu.
Okay, gotcha. Troy Fontanu out of Washington is the pick here at pick 18. And the Bengals are off the board. Moving on to pick 19, the L.A. Rams. Here's the most obvious pick I could ever make. Johnny Newton replacing Aaron Donald. Seems like
that'd be crazy.
It seems like the good pick. However, I think they're going to do it. I think the Rams are going to be the team. Sean McVay, he's going to be the guy that's like, you know what? I'm going to make a splash here. I'm going to go get an absolute playmaker on the defensive side of the football. Johnny Newton could be that guy. But I'm going to have them take Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. Really? I think that I've seen a lot of mocks recently because Cooper DeJean kind of was falling a little bit. Now I'm seeing him back in the middle of the first round.
Yeah.
And I saw a mock today with him at pick 15 to the Colts. I think that a lot more, what I've been reading is that a lot more GMs are confident in him to actually just play corner and then situationally move him like on certain downs and stuff.
He's a very flexible player.
In certain packages, move him over, but for the most part, he can play corner, which that was the thing that I was always concerned about just from not from how good he's going to be, but from just a draft standpoint. Like, I don't think he'll get drafted so high if GMs think that he's going to be
more of a nickel,
exactly, like how Brian Branch fell in the draft last year. And I think that what I've been seeing is that a lot of teams are confident that he can just play out there on the island in the corner. And I think that Sean McVay, that Rams defense, a lot of mocks have them going corner right away. And I think Cooper DeJean kind of gives you that flexibility where, like, hey, you don't have to play him there. You can if you want. This is a Rams defense that really hit in the draft last year with a couple of great late-round picks. That was a unit that was never supposed to be good and ended up being a pretty good team, led by Raheem Morris, who now is a head coach. So I'm going to go with Cooper DeJean here at pick 19. Pick 20, the Pittsburgh Steelers. What do you think? Trade out of the first round?
Yeah. Yeah. No. Just
what's the Steelers' biggest need, and then what's your? Okay, no. Let me word this differently. Biggest dream as a Steelers fan tomorrow night. Like you tonight, you go to bed and you have a dream of the Steelers doing something in the draft. What is it? Like in a positive way, obviously.
I think.
And it can be like trading up or something, or it can just be taking somebody falling to you here at pick 20. Like, what would you say?
I think my dream would be that they take. Why can't I think of his name right now? Center from Oregon.
Oh, Powers Jackson. Yeah.
I think that would be my
dream. Really?
Just from the fact that we don't have a center on our roster.
I think that's a good point.
And the fact that these past couple of years, I've seen them pass on center as it's been a need, like Tyler Linderbaum.
And the guys are good, yeah.
And
Creed Humphrey, yeah.
Just pass on them, take Kenny Pickett. Go get a center, dude.
And then they're good, yeah.
They're just elite. So I think my dream would be that they take Jackson Powers Johnson.
Uh-huh.
Now I've had 2 names in my head that for a long time that I thought they were either going to take one of these 2 guys and it was going to be Amarius Mims or Jackson Powers Johnson. But now I've seen Graham Barton pop in there.
I saw him mock today that had him going 16 to Seattle.
He is
just because you could play anywhere. I think he's listed as a tackle, but I think he's going to play the guard. Could play center. Yeah, exactly.
He could play literally any offensive line position, which is why I like him more because we need tackle, we need center, and he's more flexible to where you can go other ways in the draft. Say you take a center here. Tackles kind of fall off a little bit once you get past the first couple picks, what it's kind of looked like it's mocked in these drafts. And center, or you take tackle here, center's kind of scary. Our guy's gonna fall. So I think I would like them to take Graham Barton here just to be safe. That way, if you get a guy, you can take a tackle or a center in the second round. And you have a elite duo.
Yeah, they have Graham Barton listed as, I assume that's offensive center, OC.
Yeah.
But everywhere it's like everywhere you look, he's listed as a tackle somewhere.
Yeah.
I think he played a good amount of tackle at Duke as well.
He did.
But I think he's viewed to be a guy that's going to move to the interior. Yeah, that's another guy that I'll talk about it more when I get there. But I genuinely think that the Lions, what I want them to do the most is draft interior O-line or even offensive tackle, honestly. Plan for the future move. I think that is honestly most important, which is kind of weird to say when you're competing for a Super Bowl.
To stay at that level.
Exactly.
And so there's not this huge
And
fall
Barton
off.
is a guy that if he's there at 29, I think it's a no-brainer. I don't think he gets there at this point. I think Powers Johnson's a guy that could be there at 29.
He could fall.
But yeah, Barton at pick 20, big fan of that. He's a guy that I would dream to have as a line as well.
He's just so flexible. You can play him at so many different positions, and it's just like he's going to work.
Definitely. Pick 21, the Miami Dolphins. This is a team I've seen trade up to draft another receiver or been a Brock Bowers destination. I think that's a lot of fun. Mike McDaniel, you never know what's up, what's going on in his head. You lost Christian Wilkins, and I think that replacing him is a big-time need. Johnny Newton has kind of fell, Jermaine Newton, a little bit on this board. So I'm going to have him go here at pick 21 out of Illinois. Was really good this year for the Illini, and we kind of mentioned it earlier with Byron Murphy. Hit there. Those two are kind of in talks for who really is the best interior defensive lineman in this class. I think it's Murphy as well. I think I would pick Murphy, but I think it's fine. You go either or. So Johnny Newton is going to be pick 21 for me.
I like that pick. Yep.
Pick 22, the Philadelphia Eagles. More than likely, it's always going to be an offensive tackle or a defensive lineman most of the time for the Philadelphia Eagles. But you never know. They could do something different here at pick 22. What are you thinking?
I don't know. This is a tough spot, but I think they're going to go defensive back here and take Nate Wiggins.
Okay.
I love Nate Wiggins. I honestly
he
want
might be the most
to take
fun
him.
corner, honestly.
Fast. And
he just clamps on
big
the
and
outside.
lengthy.
Yeah, he's just a big dude.
I like him a lot. And I honestly want the Steelers to take him, but obviously we have bigger needs.
Right.
And the corner class is kind of deep to where you can get guys in the back end of the draft where I think they could come in and play.
Yeah, I think the only reason why Wiggins isn't because Wiggins probably is the best lockdown corner, I would say.
Yeah, I think so.
Just from a size standpoint.
Yeah.
But I think his biggest thing is that he's just not
ability.
the best. He's not the best tackler. He's not the best in the run game. I think that is like his biggest weakness. But yeah, just from like a one-on-one on an island corner standpoint, Wiggins is probably the top guy. Another guy that in a Lions situation, I've been saying this with like the last so many guys, but if Wiggins falls to you at 29, it's a no-brainer. I just don't think he quite gets there.
I don't think so.
But yeah,
either.
I love that pick to Philadelphia. I definitely think that this probably is the year that, because this team lives in the trenches. I mean, they just always are taking old linemen.
They need to go get a skill position.
I think so too.
Go out there and get somebody.
And it starts with Wiggins. Pick 23, this is the Chargers on the clock because we did the trade earlier in the draft where the Chargers traded pick 5 to the Vikings for pick 11 and pick 23. Our last few picks, if you have missed out, we had Cooper DeJean at 19 to the Rams, Graham Barton at 20 to the Steelers, Johnny Newton at 21 to the Dolphins, and Nate Wiggins just picked 22 to the Eagles. Here at 23 for the Chargers, I had them go with Talisa Fuaga at 11, so offensive tackle is probably not picked here. I mean, you never know with Jim Harbaugh. There's a lot going on in his brain.
Like some swing tackles.
Exactly. You never know. I don't think that they would here. Receiver kind of seems like the next biggest need for them, right? But I also don't know who you go with here. It's a weird spot. I think that it could be Keon Coleman out of Florida State. It could be Xavier Worthy out of Texas. But I think it's going to be Xavier Worthy's teammate out of Texas. I think it's going to be Adonai Mitchell here going at pick 23. Obviously, Xavier Worthy had like the big time combine, but for the most part beforehand, Adonai Mitchell was always viewed as the better draft prospects, and he was the guy this year for them as well. And I just think that for the Chargers, it's obvious that you need to get a receiver, especially if you're trading down. If you're trading down from pick 5, getting 2 first, you need to cover the 2 most needed spots, and that's tackle and receiver. So Mitchell here goes 23.
I really like that pick, and I mean, you trade back and you get 2 positions that you needed. Instead of taking like a Malik Neighbors there, you get a receiver who is still very good, and you get one of the top offensive line prospects in the draft. I like that.
And I think
I like that move.
Harbaugh would be very happy with that.
Oh, yeah.
With that trade down as well.
For sure.
Okay, pick 24, the boys. Dallas Cowboys had the quietest offseason in Cowboys history probably this offseason.
Yeah.
Who do you got them drafting here?
Dude, they got so many needs.
They really do.
Who do we got up here?
Because they kind of just like let everybody go this offseason, you know?
How do I scroll down on this?
Just go 2 fingers like that. They
Honestly,
lost a lot this offseason. I mean, I'm trying to think of everything that they lost.
Not Lael Collins.
Their other offensive tackle. Smith, Tyron Smith. Yeah, he's gone. There's another guy that they lost too. God, I can't freaking remember who it is.
Tony Pollard.
Their Stephon Gilmore's gone as well. So they got not great things going on there for sure.
I think they're gonna go tackle here. I think they'll go Amarius Mims. I think he's the best available. I would love for him to be a Steeler.
Yeah.
But
a lot of potential there with Mims. He's big dude.
Huge guy.
Yeah, I think that's probably their play, especially having to replace Tyron Smith for sure. That's who the Jets got, right? They got Tyron Smith. I said Trent Smith, I think. I don't know what
you said.
I don't remember. No, I said Tyron. I don't know. Trent Brown. Yeah. He's like an older guy, right? Like he's
young. He was on the Patriots. I think he's only like 27.
Yeah, I'm getting all their names confused now. I'm so confused.
There's a lot of them.
All right. Moving on to pick 25, the Green Bay Packers. Another team that is just like, I really don't know what they're going to do. They kind of have a good amount of options there.
Needs.
They have decent needs. They're kind of in a situation where they're ready to compete, obviously. Yeah. And maybe they do something crazy here. But I think getting help on the outside is probably the most liable option here. This is a very unfortunate situation for the Lions because all the corners essentially have gone off of the board here. And this is it's probably Kool-Aid McKinstry, right? I'm just making sure there's no other names that I'm forgetting about here, guys that I like. Don't really think so. A lot of the corners have gone off the board here. So I think Kool-Aid McKinstry falls at pick 25. I really don't see a world where he, like most mocks, I really haven't seen him go higher than the Lions pick. Like that's kind of where he just ends up.
Yeah.
In this situation, we've had a good amount of corners go off the board here in the last 10 or so picks. So McKinstry goes at pick 25 to the Packers. Pick 26, the Bucks.
The Bucks.
A lot of good edges still on the board here for Tampa.
And that's the decision I'm trying to make between Latu and Jared Verse. But I think Jared Verse, the fact that he's fallen this far.
It's pretty far.
I did a mock draft earlier that I keep looking at the screenshot of, and I have him falling here too.
Really?
In that mock draft. So I'm going to go with Jared Verse here. I mean, big D-end.
Guy's a stud.
He's a stud.
Brad Holmes would be on the phone if he was here at pick 26. That's for sure. He would not let him. He would end up in a Lions jersey, absolutely, if he was here at pick 26.
Has to be.
Okay, we're getting towards the end of the first round here. If you missed the last couple of picks, pick 23 was Adonai Mitchell to the Chargers. Pick 24 was Amarius Mims to the Boys. Pick 25 was Kool-Aid McKinstry to the Packers. Pick 26, Jared Verse to the Bucks. Pick 27 here, the Arizona Cardinals have their second first-round pick. This is via the Houston Texans. This was a trade last year that we thought this would gain a much better first-round pick and end up being pick 27. Shout out to C.J. Stroud and the Texans for doing their thing. They drafted Marvin Harrison with the 4th overall pick. So here at 27, this is kind of just like you take a safe guy here.
Yeah.
Like you just kind of go with whoever you think is your best option. You went with Marvin Harrison Jr. in the 4th pick. I think I'm going to go with J.C. Latham here out of Alabama. Yeah. Potentially a versatile offensive lineman to a point.
You can flip Paris to left tackle if you think he fits better. Type of situation.
After getting Marvin Harrison, you continue to beef up that offense. The defense obviously could use some help as well, but they have hella picks. So either way, you're doing a good job here. J.C. Latham, pick 27. Pick 28, the Buffalo Bills on the clock.
This is interesting because they could go a couple different ways, but I think that wide receiver room is so poor right now. You got to go get a guy, and a guy with Xavier Worthy's speed sitting on the board here. I think you have to take him. Go get Josh Allen, that deep threat.
Yeah, I mean, you have Curtis Samuel and Khalil Shakir as your wide receivers right now. Like,
doesn't look good.
It is looking absolutely rough. So, yeah, I like the Xavier Worthy pick as well. I have Xavier Worthy in our Dynasty Football League from the Debbie League where I drafted him last year. So I'm quite happy about that if this is the scenario where he probably is wide receiver 1 for the Bills.
Yeah.
All right, here we are. The pick. Detroit Lions pick 29. Odds that the Lions are picking here at pick 29 are probably at like 25% or lower.
You think so?
Brad Holmes has drafted 3 times now in the NFL draft. I guess the first draft he took Penei Sewell and just stayed put or whatever. But the last 2 drafts he has either traded up or traded down. And he is just a wizard. I mean, he's going to make 4 or 5 trades during the draft. He just makes a bunch of trades. This is his element. Like the regular season, whatever, that's cool. You know, like you're happy with the guys he's put on the field. Mm-hmm. This is where Brad Holmes goes to work. So this is probably all for nothing, me making a prediction right here, because he might trade down out of the first round and gain some extra late round picks, because that's where he does his best, is hitting on those late round guys. Or he might trade up and say, hey, Jared Verse has fell in this draft. Dallas Turner has fell in this draft. Like Terrion Arnold has fell. Guys that he likes, he could go get them. He also could pick a guy that we're not even thinking about here because he did that with Jahmyr Gibbs and Jack Campbell last year. In this scenario, I mentioned it earlier. For me, I think that getting the interior O-line of the future is a must-need for the Lions. We've seen how important that good offensive line is. It makes Jared Goff look like this elite quarterback. Obviously, he has the weapons around him as well, but the run game has been so good. We went out and signed Kevin Zeitler from the Baltimore Ravens. Big-time pickup. He's a one-year guy.
Yeah.
He's going to be here for a year and probably either retire or go to his next team. Frank Ragnow, from everything I've read, seems like he's going to retire after this year.
Really?
Which is just crazy because he's not even that old. He's probably
he's like 28.
30. Yeah, he's probably like right around 30.
That's what I was going to say.
But he's dealt with relentless turf toe injuries the last 3 seasons, essentially. He doesn't even really practice anymore. Like, he's a guy that is just... And he's dealt with a lot of back injuries as well. There was rumor that he was going to retire after this year. He didn't, and then I've been seeing reports that he's just like the Lions are preparing for him to retire after this year or whatever. I think it's important to kind of be prepared for the future.
Yeah.
I know you're in a Super Bowl winning situation right now, and you should be drafting guys to help that. You should be drafting a corner, drafting an edge to put on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson, which I do think edge probably is the biggest need to at least help right now. I think it's a bigger need than corner personally, because I think if you pair up a guy like Chop Robinson with Hutchinson, that's a lot of fun. But I think in this situation, Jackson Powers Johnson is looking you in the face. I like Zach Frazier a lot as well, out of West Virginia, I believe. You could take Kingsley Suamatiaya. I don't know if I'm saying that right. He's Penei Sewell's cousin out of BYU.
Really?
He's an absolute freaking unit. I mean,
he's huge.
He's humongous, and him and Sewell are cousins. They look a lot alike as well. You could absolutely just have them be your 2 tackles of the future with Deck, because I think Taylor Decker is another guy that's like, hey, you might not have to worry about it as soon, but 2 years from now, Taylor Decker might be pushing retirement. Like, these guys are getting old. So it's all fun and games right now. Jackson Powers Johnson is going to be the pick for me. He can play guard for a year. You know, if Graham Glasgow gets hurt or Zeitler gets hurt, he can move to guard, but I think he is the eventual Frank Ragnow replacement. Yeah. We're seeing it right now with Landon Dickerson in Philly, you know, where he was drafted as a center, played guard for them the first couple years. Now that Jason Kelsey's out, he's filling in that spot for him. Could be a very similar situation here with Powers Johnson.
Yep, I like that pick a lot. I mean, I think he's a bona fide stud. Mm-hmm. Dude's going to be in the league for a long time.
Yeah, so. and hopefully it's with the Lions.
Yeah, that'd be huge.
I hope this is a boring pick, personally. Like, I hope the Lions take O-line. It's weird because it's our best thing. Like, our best part of the Lions is the offensive line. But I want them to draft another guy. I really do. Pick 30, the Baltimore Ravens, Willy's favorite team.
Love them.
Who do you got him taking?
It was down to receiver or edge for me, and the receivers, I'm not a huge fan of Keon Coleman.
Right.
But
I don't know how big of a fan I am for NFL-wise either. Like, definitely not as the one.
Yeah. So I don't know how I feel about them going that direction. So I think I'm going to have him taking Chop Robinson here.
Yeah.
He's a stud. He's the whole reason Michigan didn't pass in that whole game. They ran it 32 straight times. The dude is elite. So I think you go get your elite pass rusher, and this really helps out the defense.
I mean, and let's be honest, whoever the Ravens take here, they're just going to turn into a stud.
Yeah,
the Ravens might be they're probably better than the Lions at drafting. I mean, they just draft guys every year.
Every year.
It's crazy.
It's annoying.
And they'll probably do it again this year. Okay, the last 2 picks of the draft, the 2 teams that were in the Super Bowl. Obviously, the 49ers, everyone knows, didn't deserve to be in the Super Bowl. But that's besides the point. I keep seeing the other day, I saw a video that was like, I can't remember what it was, but it was like, describe depression in one word, and then it was like the picture of the ball bouncing off a Kindle Builder's head. It's like, dude, I just think about that game so frequently. Like, God, the Lions should have been in the Super Bowl. That's crazy. 49ers at pick 31. I don't really care, dude. I hate the 49ers. Like, oh, my God, I hate them. They're probably going to trade Brandon Ayuk. They might have an extra first-round pick in this draft. So maybe I plan for that. Am I doing a little reverse psychology where it's like they're going to trade Ayuk? So I had them take a receiver. If Worthy was on the board here, I think I would do it.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily know with Keon Coleman. I don't know. I think, like, did they re-sign Chase Young, or is he just on an expiring now? I think he's just on an expiring now, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen anything about
so maybe you go edge here to kind of plan for the future if Chase Young doesn't re-sign. I don't know. I think... You know what? I'm going to do something that a guy that I've seen rise. I think Ladd McConkey, he been rising, dude.
I was going to have him going to the Chiefs.
He been rising a little bit in mock drafts. I'm going to have them plan for the future. They're trading Brandon Ayuk away, but guess what? McConkey fits the 49ers aura, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. I get it.
At pick 31 there out of Georgia.
That makes this Chiefs picks a lot harder.
It does, because you would think receiver, like even though they got Marquise Brown, like the room still isn't great, especially with Rashee Rice. Sorry, it's been a little glitchy. My computer's getting close to dead. Last pick of the draft here, the Kansas City Chiefs, the reigning Super Bowl champs. Willie, who you got them taking?
I was going to have them going wide receiver, obviously, but I don't like anybody left on the board taking this high.
I don't really think they would take Keon Coleman this high.
Yeah, either. No. I think he'll drop to mid-second round, maybe. I don't know. Maybe higher. But I think they'll go invest in that offensive line and go take Tyler Guyton here. I like Tyler Guyton.
He's kind of fell a little bit on our board.
He's fell a little bit, but I like him.
A lot of mocks I've seen him go a little bit higher on for sure. So
yeah.
Tyler Guyton goes pick 32 to wrap up this mock draft. If you guys want to make a bunch of money, do a futures bet on this to be the exact order of the draft, 1 through 32.
Go do it right now.
And it's money. No, just kidding. We'll probably come back to this, and it's going to be completely wrong. But that's all right, because you know what? That's what happens in
We should do like a reaction. Actually, that probably won't be a great idea. Do a reaction to this.
Oh,
actually,
well, we can
I was thinking more of like the order, I guess.
Yeah, but we can still
order. We can do a reaction to this and like our last season's like reaction.
Yeah, we could do that. Just kind of review this while we do that too. Yeah, that's a good idea.
We'll have to draft actually.
We'll have to do that. So thank you guys for listening to another episode. This is a late night cast for sure. And we will see you guys later. Enjoy the NFL draft tomorrow. Peace.
See you.